Hello everyone. Welcome to April 26th, 2020. This is MJ. Hope you guys are doing well, staying fit, staying healthy, and eating good food, right? So, this is the third video in this series, and in this video, we are going to go through the prerequisites of Hadoop, right? Prerequisites. So if you remember the first video, I talked about three prerequisites. The first one was UNIX OS, second one was Java, and third one is SQL. Java is not actually a prerequisite, but we will just cover it because we can talk about it, right? So this video, I am going to talk about UNIX OS, which is the first prerequisite of Hadoop. So in that, if you remember the first video, I talked about 3 points. The first one was architecture. The second one was directory structure. And third one was Unix commands. So this video, I will talk about the Unix architecture. Now it's okay if you are not interested in knowing what goes behind the scene, and you can skip it and go to the next video. I want to talk about it because it's part of the base that we want to build for future Hadoop videos, right? So if you know about the architecture, you will be able to kind of build that analogy between the Unix and Hadoop. So that's why I wanted to introduce architecture to you first. So I had to do some research about it before creating this video. So I'll be talking a lot of bookish terms. So that's why I said you can skip this video if you are not interested in this. So Unix OS is a 4-layer architecture, which means there are 4 layers. The innermost layer is kernel. So let me give you 4 layers and then we'll talk about what each layer does. Second layer is system calls. Third layer is shell. And fourth layer is application programs. I'll just call it application or apps. So kernel will start from the center because that's where everything happens, that's where the magic happens. You can say kernel directly works with the hardware of the computer or the system. Now one thing that I did not tell you guys, what do you mean by actually operating system, right? So if you know, there are two types of important components of any system, computer system. One is hardware and the other one is software. So operating system acts as a communication bridge between the hardware and software. So let's say if you wanna open a new tab in the browser, there is a code written in software which executes that code. So operating system executes that code, and it runs or it moves a few things here and there in hardware, and that's how a new tab is created. I know I'm rusty on my details, but this is what I could do in like 5-10 minutes of research. So getting back to the architecture, kernel is the innermost component of a Unix operating system architecture diagram. It directly works with hardware, so whenever you initialize any command, it is kernel's job to execute that command on a hardware. Kernel is surrounded by system calls. So let's say if you wanna connect to a new printer or whatever kind of system calls you wanna you can think of, those systems calls are executed from the second layer of the architecture. The third layer is shell. So whenever you type Unix commands such as ls, cat, cp, mv, which we are going to see in the coming videos, those commands are executed through shell. Now shell performs two kind of activities, or shell is meant to perform two kind of activities. First one is to give users the capability to run these commands, right? And second one is facilitate every capability that the application can perform. So application programs are the outermost, you can call it as a user interface of an operating system. So if you click a button, it triggers some code at the back end, and that's how shell, system calls, and kernels get their respective commands to execute. So if you may, it's not given on the internet, but if you may, you can treat the outermost layer as software, whereas you can treat the innermost layer as hardware. This is just for analogy purpose. There is, I haven't read it on the internet or anywhere, but this is what the simplest form of Unix operating system architecture looks like. So let me think if I am missing anything else that I want to convey. So for our course, I think shell is what more important. Shell layer is the most important component for us, because it contains all the Unix commands, which we are going to see in a couple of videos. I think we will stop here. I don't want to make too long a video, so we'll stop here with the Unix architecture. So things that we learned before I close things off, we learned that it's a 4-layer architecture. The 4-layer are, and starting from innermost, kernel, system call, shell, and application software or application programs. Kernel works directly with hardware. You can treat application as software, and OS is the communication bridge between hardware and software. And few examples of Unix OS is, the most famous one is Mac OS. The iPhone that you use are all running on Unix operating system. So in the next video, we are going to see the directory structure of Unix operating system. So thanks everyone for joining. This is MJ signing off. Take care, and please do come back. See you.